Greetings. My name is Alexis, and I want to share a personal story involving my rather challenging mother-in-law. Let me set the stage by introducing the cast of this narrative. Alongside me, you'll meet my husband Bobby, his dad Tyler, and his mom Helen. My parents will appear too, but they'll play minor roles, simply referred to as mom and dad. My first encounter with Helen was surprisingly pleasant. Bobby and I had been together for a year when he decided it was time for me to meet his parents. Initially, everything went well, and they seemed to like me as much as I liked them, but things took a turn after several meetings as Helen began to grow distant and chilly towards me, which left me baffled and seeking answers. Concerned, I approached Bobby. "I've noticed your mom's been rather distant with me lately. Did I do something wrong? It's worrying me. Please, if I made a mistake, let me know so I can fix it." Bobby hesitated, then replied, "Honestly, the reason is a bit silly and it might upset you, but you deserve to know. It's not about you doing anything wrong, it's just, well, my mom has this odd belief that she can't shake." Driven by curiosity, I pressed him for more details. "What's the issue? I can handle it. Just tell me." Bobby took a deep breath. "It's because your parents are divorced. She found out, and somehow it bothers her a lot." This was a revelation I hadn't expected. It seemed so trivial and bizarre to me. I would have laughed it off if Bobby's expression wasn't so earnest and apologetic. I realized he was serious when I recalled a conversation with Helen where I had casually mentioned my parents' divorce due to infidelity, a topic she had inquired about herself. Her behavior made sense now. Her curiosity had been more judgmental than I'd realized, and it explained her sudden coldness. This unexpected insight into Helen's views helped me understand the strange dynamics that had developed. I just couldn't grasp why this was becoming an issue. "I don't see the connection, Bobby. Why does my parents' divorce matter so much to your mom?" Bobby sighed. "She has this outdated idea that kids from divorced families don't turn out well. My mom is quite traditional and thinks couples should stick it out no matter what. Remember, none of this is your fault. My mom's perspective is just a bit peculiar." "That seems unfair," I replied, feeling a mix of disbelief and frustration. I had no clue Helen would think less of me over something like this. What am I supposed to do now? "You don't need to do anything, Alexis," Bobby reassured me. "She'll come around eventually and see how wrong she is. You're an incredible person, and I have no doubt you'll eventually win her over." Despite Bobby's optimism, winning Helen over turned out to be impossible. I tried my best to get back on her good side, overlooking her biased views to foster a better relationship. However, all my efforts to extend olive branches were ignored. I persisted for years, driven by my desire for her approval and my love for Bobby, who shared a close bond with his family. I envisioned a future with him and wanted to be a part of his family circle, but Helen remained unmoved. I never confronted her directly because she never openly shared her disapproval. If Bobby ever corrected her in private, I was unaware. I naively continued my attempts to gain her approval, facing disappointment each time. Years passed, and eventually Bobby proposed. It was a beautiful moment, and I excitedly said yes. Eager to share the joy, I visited my parents to announce the good news. My mom was thrilled, and we had a wonderful celebration. However, things took a strange turn at my dad's house. When he asked to see a photo of Bobby's family, I proudly showed him my only picture with Bobby's parents. Upon seeing it, my dad's expression turned grave. I sensed something was amiss, but chose not to probe, especially with Bobby there. Later, when I called my dad to discuss his reaction, he hesitated before confessing, "Alexis, I'm not sure how to say this. It's a long story, and I deeply regret it. I never wanted to bring this up. But it seems like fate has its twists and turns." "Dad, you're scaring me. What's going on? Why did you look so strange when I showed you that picture of Bobby's parents?" Taking a deep breath, he finally said, "Alexis, the woman in that picture, Bobby's mom, Helen, she was involved with me. She was the reason your mother and I divorced." I was stunned. "What are you saying, Dad?" "Yes, Alexis, I'm sorry you had to find out this way. Helen moved away before your mom and I finalized our divorce, and I never saw her again. I had no clue that my past mistake would resurface like this. Your mom and I kept it from you because we wanted to protect you, but it seems my past actions are catching up with me." My dad explained everything about their affair. Tyler and Bobby were oblivious to it all, as Helen had moved away before any confrontations could happen. Thus, while Helen enjoyed a seemingly happy marriage with Tyler, my parents ended up separated. Later, my mom called to confirm everything, mentioning they even had evidence confirming Helen's identity. My mind reeled with this bombshell. Not only did I now know Helen had been my father's affair partner, but also that Bobby and Tyler were completely unaware. I was torn about whether to disclose this revelation. They all seemed happy, and despite Helen's coldness towards me, I hesitated to disrupt their lives. No matter how Helen had treated me, I didn't want to be the reason her marriage fell apart. Yet, it turned out Helen was even more manipulative than I had imagined. Just a week after I learned the truth, she organized a lavish dinner party at an upscale restaurant under the guise of celebrating our engagement. Bobby was thrilled to announce our plans to his extended family, and I was equally excited. However, when we arrived at the dinner, I realized the celebration was not as genuine as I thought. Helen started the event by saying, "Thank you everyone for joining us today. While it appears we are here to celebrate my son's engagement, there are some important matters we need to discuss regarding Bobby's decision. Isn't that right, Tyler?" "Yes, Helen, that's correct," Tyler added, oblivious to the underlying tension. As Helen took the floor, it became evident that the dinner wasn't just to honor our engagement, but to scrutinize it under her controlling gaze. Everyone seemed happy, but the air was charged with Helen's unspoken judgments, making the evening far from the joyful celebration I had anticipated. Unfortunately, I strongly disagree with this union, and I cannot give it my blessing. Helen's declaration left me utterly stunned. I glanced at Bobby, who mirrored my shock. Neither of us had anticipated that Helen had organized this elaborate party not to celebrate, but to publicly reject me as a suitable partner for her son. Even Tyler appeared taken aback, seemingly unaware of Helen's intentions. My mind reeled, unable to process Helen's harsh words. Bobby turned to his mother, disbelief etched across his face. "Mom, are you joking? This isn't funny at all. Do I look like I'm joking, Bobby?" "This is no joke. I simply cannot accept Alexis joining our family." "But Mom, Alexis is already part of the family. I'm marrying her no matter what. You don't have any legitimate reason to oppose our marriage. Why are you doing this?" Bobby's confusion was palpable. We were a happy couple, and it baffled us both why Helen harbored such disdain towards me. I had always strived to be a good partner to Bobby, and her unwarranted hostility was bewildering. However, Helen quickly made her reasoning clear with a scornful look directed at me, then turned back to Bobby. "You cannot marry her, Bobby. She's from a broken home. We all know how children from such backgrounds turn out. She's damaged goods. Why would you want someone like that?" "Mom, what the hell is wrong with you? Alexis is not damaged goods. Her parents' marriage has nothing to do with who she is as a person. She's an amazing woman, and we are in love." "Oh, Bobby, here it is again. Why don't you understand? A woman like her doesn't know what love is. Look at her parents, Bobby. They couldn't make it work despite their love. What do you think Alexis has learned from that?" Helen continued, her tone increasingly spiteful. "Helen, you're being completely unfair to Alexis," Bobby countered firmly. "She's perfect for me. We've been together for 7 years. What more does she need to prove?" "You just won't understand, Tyler. I'm sure she will end up cheating on our son." I know her parents divorced over infidelity, and any child from such a marriage is bound to be unfaithful. I'm only looking out for our son." I was devastated by Helen's cruel and baseless accusations. It was clear she had never liked me, but the venom in her words was something I had not anticipated, revealing a side of her I had hoped never to see. I was completely blindsided by the extent Helen would go to degrade me. She had orchestrated a grand family dinner, not as a celebration, but as a platform to publicly berate me. The things she said about me and my family were utterly vile, leaving me feeling humiliated and on the verge of tears. Fortunately, not everyone at the dinner shared her sentiment. Bobby and Tyler stood up for me, while the rest of the family members present appeared visibly uncomfortable with Helen's harsh words. None of them sided with her. Despite the lack of support, Helen didn't hold back. Her relentless insults pushed me to my limit, and I finally spoke up. "You need to stop, Helen. This is too much. I have always treated you with respect, and this is how you repay that? You even organized this dinner just to tear me down." "Why are you surprised, Alexis? I've made it clear from the start that I don't want you with my son. Did you forget what I said? You still don't belong in our family," Helen retorted. "Helen, I've given everything over the past 7 years to Bobby. I've strived to be the best partner for him and to build a relationship with his family. I don't deserve to be treated like this or to be insulted," I responded, my voice steady but full of emotion. "I can't believe you would label me as flawed just because my parents are divorced. People's upbringing influences their worldview, Alexis. I bet you'll end up just like your parents and ruin your marriage with my son. I can't let you hurt him," Helen claimed obstinately. Helen was unyielding in her stance, continuing to belittle me and even attempting to manipulate Bobby into ending our engagement. My patience was wearing thin after enduring such public humiliation. Bobby did his best to intervene, but Helen was adamant about making her point. Seeing that she wasn't going to relent, I knew I had to stand up for myself, although I managed to keep my composure. "You know what, Helen? It's ironic for you to lecture about marriage and love when you have no respect for your own." "What the hell do you mean? I have the perfect marriage and never gave my husband any reason to doubt me." Helen snapped back, visibly taken aback by my defiance. Her response only highlighted the hypocrisy of her actions, given the secrets I now knew about her past. I was filled with a mix of anger and resolve, determined not to let her falsehoods define my relationship with Bobby. "I know the importance of maintaining a stable marriage and providing a nurturing home for my son," Helen declared with a hint of righteousness in her voice. "Oh, really, Helen? Interestingly, you mentioned that because you've conveniently left out your tumultuous past. It seems like you've forgotten what you've done," I retorted, feeling a surge of boldness. Helen's face fell and her expression turned anxious. "What are you trying to imply, Alexis?" she stammered, clearly rattled by where the conversation was heading. I realized that this was the moment of truth, and holding back any longer was only weighing me down. The burden of keeping Helen's secret, especially knowing how genuinely good Tyler was, had become too much. Her ongoing spite towards me only fueled my decision, so I chose to reveal everything right there in the midst of everyone. After all, Helen hadn't bothered to keep her accusations private, so why should I? I smiled thinly at her and said, I see you know what I'm hinting at. So tell me, Helen, was it fun to jeopardize another family's happiness to secure your own?" "What nonsense are you spouting, Alexis? I've done nothing of the sort," Helen defensively shot back. "Really? So you don't recall having an affair with my father and contributing to the breakup of my parents' marriage?" The words hung heavily in the air as I watched her face turn from nervous to shocked. She hadn't expected me to know about her indiscretion, nor did she realize the man she had an affair with was my father. The color drained from Helen's face as the room fell silent, punctuated only by gasps from around the table. Bobby and Tyler seemed stunned, unable to process the revelation. It was Tyler who finally spoke, his voice breaking slightly. "What did you just say? Helen cheated on me with your father?" "I'm sorry you had to find out this way, Tyler. It's true. I only learned about it recently myself when my dad recognized her in a photo," I explained, my tone sincere yet firm. "Why didn't you tell me sooner, Alexis?" Tyler asked, a mixture of hurt and betrayal in his eyes. I responded softly, "I wanted to protect you all, to preserve what seemed like a happy family. I know Helen has no qualms about breaking up homes, but I do. I'm sorry I didn't tell you sooner." As the reality sank in for Bobby and Tyler, Helen began to recover from her initial shock. Desperate to salvage her image, she started to concoct a narrative, suddenly shrieking, "These are all lies. Alexis is just trying to humiliate me. I've always been a perfect wife. I would never do such a thing to my husband. Tyler, Bobby, you have to believe me." But her panicked reaction only served to validate my claims further. Tyler, now looking more doubtful, replied, "Your reaction doesn't exactly inspire confidence, Helen. I've had my doubts for a long time. I need to understand what's going on here. Alexis, are you making this up?" Tyler's voice was fraught with confusion as he confronted me, trying to grasp the swirling accusations. "Tyler, she's lying. She's just upset because I tried to protect my son from someone unworthy like her," Helen retorted sharply, clinging to her stance. "Helen, hold on. Alexis, do you have any proof of what you're claiming?" Tyler asked, his interest piqued, needing tangible evidence to navigate the storm of allegations. "Actually, I do have proof," I responded calmly. My father had anticipated the need for evidence and had sent me their conversation histories. I asked my dad to send me some of their old messages, just in case I decided it was time to reveal the truth. "I can show them to you if you'd like." Helen's face morphed into a mask of dread as she realized I had substantial evidence. She had thought her past actions, hidden by distance and time, would never come to light. Her bad luck, however, led her directly into the revelation she had feared. When Tyler asked to see the evidence, I showed him the screenshots my father had preserved. They communicated via social media, and he had kept all their exchanges. I handed my phone to Tyler, who scrolled through the messages, his expression growing grimmer by the moment. Helen, flustered and desperate, watched as Tyler absorbed the information. "Tyler, you're not thinking clearly. I haven't cheated on you. Those screenshots can be faked easily. Alexis, I can't believe you'd stoop so low as to try to humiliate me and destroy my marriage." "Whoa, Helen, hold on right there. Those screenshots are not fake." "And if Tyler still has doubts, I have even more evidence," I countered firmly. "Remember the phone call you made to my mom boasting about your affair with my dad? My mom recorded that call and sent it to me. I can play it for you if Tyler wants." Tyler, now more resolute, nodded. "I would like to hear that too. Go ahead, put it on speaker. I think everyone here should listen to it." The room was tense as I prepared to play the recording. Helen's face was a mix of panic and remembrance of her indiscretions. After receiving a reassuring nod from Bobby, whom I felt bad for keeping in the dark, I pressed play. The recording echoed around the room, laying bare Helen's brazenness and duplicity. While I won't delve into the specifics of what she told my mom, it was damning. Helen had always been a manipulative figure, and if I had come across this recording earlier, I wouldn't have bothered trying to maintain any facade of civility with her. If I had known the full extent of Helen's betrayal earlier, I would have exposed the truth immediately. As the recording played, revealing Helen's taunts toward my mother, Tyler, and Bobby's expressions turned to sheer anger. Her distinct voice, known for its whiny tone, left no room for doubt. It was undeniably her on the tape. The evidence was overwhelming. Tyler's gaze on Helen was filled with contempt as he waited for her to respond. Tearfully, Helen stammered, "Tyler, I can explain. It was just a small mistake." "How does cheating on your husband and mocking a hurt wife qualify as being a good wife, Helen?" Tyler challenged, his voice rising with incredulity. "You not only had an affair with a married man, but also taunted his wife after their marriage collapsed. What possible explanation could you have for such cruelty?" "Please, Tyler, don't speak to me like that. It was a one-time thing. I made a mistake, and it's never happened again," Helen pleaded, her voice breaking. "I'm not sure I can believe that, Helen. Even if it was just one time, it's more than enough for me to reconsider our entire marriage." Tyler responded sternly, his trust visibly shattered. Helen's crying intensified, her sobs growing louder as the gravity of her actions sunk in. Everyone at the dinner was openly criticizing her now, no longer willing to listen to her excuses. She frantically begged Tyler to forgive her, claiming it was just a one-time incident, but Tyler remained unmoved. In desperation, Helen turned to Bobby, seeking his support. "Bobby, you have to make your father understand. I haven't done anything like that again. Please don't let him destroy our perfect family over this. How dare you call this a perfect family, Mom? How can you think I would support you after you tried to ruin my relationship with Alexis, blaming her for being from a broken home when you were the one who caused such pain?" Bobby's disgust was palpable. "I'm done, Mom. I will marry Alexis, and I intend to keep my distance from you, even if Dad decides to stay with you. I can't be around you anymore." Helen's cries filled the room, her emotional breakdown peaking as the guests began to leave the restaurant, the atmosphere having turned decidedly awkward. Some of them approached me, offering comfort, visibly upset by Helen's cruel attempt to humiliate me in public. The consensus was clear. Everyone was thoroughly disappointed in Helen's behavior, and Bobby was resolute in his decision to distance himself from her, ensuring our future together was safeguarded from her toxic influence. After the tumultuous events at the restaurant, Bobby and I headed home. I was anxious about how he felt, knowing that I had withheld such significant information from him. As soon as we settled in, I turned to him and apologized. "Bobby, I'm so sorry for not telling you sooner. I was unsure about what to do. I've seen how much you love your family, and it was breaking my heart to think I could be causing trouble." "Alexis, it doesn't matter how much I love my family. If someone behaves badly or does something terrible, I can't just ignore it. I won't tolerate wrongdoing," Bobby replied firmly, his voice filled with resolve. "And you shouldn't feel horrible. You were put in a tough spot, and you spoke up because my dad asked for the truth. I can't blame you for defending yourself. Everyone needed to know the truth." Bobby continued, reassuring me. "As for my mom, I was already planning to reduce contact with her, even before you revealed her affair. I couldn't stand by and watch her insult you like that. It was utterly unacceptable." I felt a wave of relief knowing Bobby didn't hold any resentment towards me. My guilt about him being caught between us eased. Bobby was supportive, understanding my position completely. We reconciled without any lingering bitterness. Now, you might wonder what happened to Helen after her deceit was exposed. Well, the outcome was quite ironic. The woman who had criticized me for coming from a divorced family ended up facing a divorce herself. That's right, Tyler filed for divorce within just a week of the revelations, determined to sever ties for good. Since the house was his ancestral property, Helen had no claim over it. Moreover, in our state, infidelity is a serious offense that heavily influences divorce proceedings. Ultimately, Helen was left with almost nothing, forced to start over and take a low-wage job to make ends meet. Helen's desperation led her to our doorstep multiple times. Initially, she begged us to convince Tyler to reconsider the divorce. She even offered to apologize to my parents in a bid to garner my sympathy. When that didn't work, she returned several times asking for financial help. Bobby and I were not interested in helping her manipulate her way back into a comfortable life, especially after her attempts to use us. Each time we made it clear she wasn't welcome and sent her away. Through all this, Bobby and I grew stronger together, our bond fortified by facing and overcoming these challenges. We learned a lot about standing by each other and upholding our values, no matter the external pressures. Just 3 months ago, Bobby and I tied the knot. By that time, Tyler and Helen had finalized their divorce and were each navigating their separate lives. After everything that had transpired, Bobby and I had a serious conversation and mutually decided that it was best not to invite his mother to our wedding. Honestly, neither of us wanted her presence to overshadow our special day. We had a beautiful ceremony surrounded by our closest friends and family. It was intimate and filled with love, exactly as we had envisioned. Helen was completely unaware of our wedding plans and only found out when we shared our joyous moments online. Seeing the photos, she bombarded us with a series of bitter texts. Her reaction only confirmed that we had made the right decision in not including her. Subsequently, we decided to block her number on both our phones to prevent any further negativity from infiltrating our newlywed bliss. Since then, Bobby and I have been relishing the peace and quiet. It's been wonderful to enjoy each other's company without the drama. As things stand, we don't foresee any reason to reconnect with Helen. Our focus is on building our life together, free from past turmoil,